James, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a David Cronenberg movie. I've seen The Fly. There you go. But my knowledge of David Cronenberg is very limited. I think I've seen Eastern Promises as well, but I've not seen core David Cronenberg stuff. And
me neither.
No sooner have I had a chance to catch up on David Cronenberg. His son goes out and makes a couple of films as well, right? Brandon Cronenberg. Yep. Now, I heard Possessor, that was his previous one. I heard that was pretty good. There's a great Andrea Riseborough performance in that.
Antiviral.
Yeah, and I think we had an email saying how good Possessor was.
Yes, we did.
But here we go. Brandon Cronenberg now returns with a new film called Infinity Pool. You've seen it.
Yeah. I fancied it. I didn't know anything about it. Me and my cousin often will go and see some spookies together.
Nice.
Book tickets on a Sunday night. Went to a very nice cinema, Castle Cinema in Homerton. Nice, like sort of reclining sofa seats, nice screening. Kind of like going to a new place to watch something spooky and weird. It's kind of nice because it's like a new environment. I don't know it. Dark room.
Heightens your senses.
Heightens my senses. Infinity Pool is... Look, I said before this was like watching a film on very hard mode.
Right.
And that is the way I felt about it. I think a lot of this film descended into like the last 20 minutes of an Ari Aster film towards the end.
God.
And I'll be honest, what started as a very cool idea that I wanted to unpack.
Yeah.
Film loses me about a third of the way in.
Early.
It became slightly... I was laughing when I shouldn't towards the end. But Infinity Pool is a film starring Alexander Skarsgård, who often is drawn to... I think you could very easily, given sort of the look and who he is, have done sort of a more sort of atypical stock male characters, and I feel like he's always doing something very different and very strange with his acting. I've always appreciated it.
I like him.
He is playing a writer who has lost his inspiration. He released a book 6 years ago to kind of mixed reviews, but he's married a very rich woman, so he's sort of lost a sense of why he makes his art. And him and his girlfriend travel to this beautiful opulent resort.
His girlfriend.
Oh, sorry, his wife.
So thank you.
Sorry, I meant his wife. Have travelled to this...
His wife played by...
Oh, I can't remember her name, but she's not a name that I...
That's not Mia Goth.
No. Okay. No. And they travel to this opulent resort, and he's meant to try and find his inspiration. And it's set in a fictional state called Lee Tolga, which is, I think, loosely based on like Croatia, Bosnia, around that region, based on like what it looked like and the way in which they referenced it. And it's kind of like a troubled state where as long as you stay inside the resort, you're okay, but the locals are barbaric and wild, and the police are slightly brutal, so just be careful. They meet this couple, one of which is played by Mia Goth, who says to him, "Oh my God, I loved your book. I thought it was incredible. Are you writing another one?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm struggling for inspiration." And they sort of end up going on a day trip to the beach. And what happens is they get very drunk at the beach, and on their way driving back, Alexander Skarsgård is driving the car, and he hits a man with a car. And they try to sort of like just run and leave it, but the police eventually catch on. They get taken to the police station, and the chief officer says very casually, "Look, the penalty for this is to be executed. But fear not, because what we can do is if you pay us loads of money, we can create a complete clone of your body, and we can upload your consciousness and your thoughts and your feelings to them, and instead of you being executed, we'll execute the clone." And...
Oh.
Yeah, so we're already like in sort of like, and that's the thing. It was delivered very matter of fact. It wasn't, touched upon that this is like an insane proposition.
You're like, look at this.
It was like in the mania of being processed in a slightly like a skewed political system where you're just panicking and you're like, oh my God, I've just been caught up in this terrible thing. What can I do? Throw money at the situation.
Right.
And so Alexander Skarsgård watches his own clone be stabbed to death as a means of justice. And in that process, he's not there. Well, there's obviously this sort of sense that we're not actually 100% sure, because you've uploaded a consciousness to a clone. Is it that version of him that's been executed, or is it the clone that's now living on?
The man who goes
there
inside
are
the box
later versions of that, which sort of are purposefully switching the perspective where you never really know who you are. And he ended up linked with this group of people who are all ultra wealthy, who have all had their bodies destroyed and killed because they keep breaking the law. And what you've got is this commentary on the ultra wealthy and how they can seemingly go on holiday, find themselves, discover things, commit as much crime as they can. But it doesn't really matter, because with enough money and enough influence, you can essentially reset, dispose of your old self at the cost of your own soul. And come the next hour and 15 minutes of a surrealist, psycho, hallucinogenic, body horror, I mean, there are so many things in this film that I cannot describe because this thing would just get demonetized. Not that we make loads of money, but like, it would be downvoted in terms of the algorithm. But we've got phalluses emerging out of female genitalia. We've got blood and pus coming out of breasts and breastfeeding of people that shouldn't be breastfeeding. Mia Goth is one of the pieces of this film that I thought kept me really interested. She's amazing screen presence. And there's sort of this, there are little ideas dotted throughout, which I really liked and wanted to unpack. It tried to do so much more than commit to one of them that I just felt like it was showing too much without a clear idea and the audience just didn't know what to latch onto. So I'm glad I saw it. But coming out of that film, me and my cousin tried to discuss it, and it was like trying to remember a really weird dream just as you've woken up. And I tried to attribute lots of meaning to it, and I actually just decided this lost me. I don't think a lot of the ideas work. There's a really cool idea about the rich like regenerating themselves and being able to just get away with murder. But a lot of the time, I felt a little bit lost. I thought some of the beats that it hit were funny when they weren't meant to be, despite some very engaging performances. So I didn't feel great watching it. You know, I came home and I felt really weird. Like, I walked back to the overground. I was like, God, what weird. I've just seen so much weird shit. Like, you know, last 20 minutes of Midsummer kind of weird. And, you know, I get in, Tally's like, how was the film? And I was like, God, it was really strange. She's like, are you
not
right?
satisfyingly strange.
And everything I was saying was weird. Everything I was doing felt weird. Nothing was normal again. And I wanted to shower, curl up in a ball and watch The Mandalorian. Because I was like, I just need to cleanse myself. It was like watching a film on Very Hard.
Alex from Derby has seen Infinity Pool, and he says, having previously seen and rated Brandon Cronenberg's last film, Possessor, I was exceedingly excited to have a random rainy afternoon off to myself to go and watch this new offering. I love that, by the way.
Oh yeah, gorgeous.
Random rainy afternoon off, and you went to the cinema by yourself.
Perfect afternoon.
Gorgeous. Gladly, I'd only heard one review of this film. I didn't know too much about the journey I was about to go in. I certainly wasn't prepared for how disorienting, disturbing, and at times wildly fun this film would be. It is the kind of movie you feel you can't leave the screen because the people outside won't understand what you've just experienced.
It's unexplainable.
And when I made it to my car, I had to just sit for about 10 minutes to collect my thoughts. I really cannot recommend it enough for those with strong stomachs and minds. Cronenberg has once again managed to sear indelible imagery into my brain, and the final act managed to make me physically and mentally squirm in a way that no other film has ever done. Well, very visceral response from me there. That's cool. A special mention to Mia Goth, who has cemented herself as a real talent with this role, but Cronenberg must take the biggest plaudits. I have so many questions reading around in my head after Infinity Pool, some of which may never be answered, but I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. Thanks as always for the pod.
So thank you for your email, and I completely respect your opinion, but I will disagree on my thoughts on the ending, which I didn't like. I thought it fanned out way too much and then tried to very quickly just give a little meaning to it, and I wasn't there for it.
I will probably seek out Possessor, but also, is it one of those things you saw where you're like, well, at least he tried. Like, at least there was like a mad idea in there. Or is it?
There's a mad idea in the beginning, and I think you could have like come back to that, and you didn't. You just had like good 7-minute long psychedelic orgies, and I'm just like, okay, and
you haven't justified. You haven't earned
the orgy.
Yeah,
I'm actually really
You've
glad
got to earn the orgy, Brandon.
Really
okay,
I actually really glad I saw it because I felt like my brain was using really different muscles trying to unpack it. So in so many ways, I'm glad I did it. But I don't feel good watching it, didn't feel good after it, and I've not come out loving it.
And you will never see it again.
Never. Right.
If you've seen Infinity Pool, just like Alex and James have, you can write in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and let us know your thoughts.